Time now for Inside Utah Politics with Lindsay Ertz.
Well, welcome in today. So glad you found us. Thanks for being here. News for Utah Plus is our free TV streaming app now on your Samsung TV, guys. Did you know that not only on Apple, Amazon Fire, and Roku, but on Samsung too, you can get news for Utah Plus, or if you're finding us on YouTube, thanks to Adam Gardiner and Sarah Reale are here today. Hi, guys.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming. Adam with ASG Consulting, local lobbying firm here and consulting firm, and Sarah Reale, an educator and women's sports enthusiast.
I sure am.
That's her title. She's also a member of the State Board of Education, but doesn't speak in that official capacity today. How are we feeling about the new softball team, Sarah?
We're stoked about it.
We're
We got
stoked.
the Utah Talents,
Yeah.
Athletes Unlimited Pro Softball League, and not only did we get a team, we got the team that won the championship last year.
Okay.
So we might be bringing a championship back to Utah. It's been a while, and for the Jazz, never.
I'm just saying the men's teams haven't done that,
Nope.
right? So, okay, we'll watch it. Very good. How's the session treating y'all? You guys dead yet?
Yeah, I was dead on day 2 where
Yeah.
you're at 400 bills, and now I think we're up about 700. So it keeps getting better every single day, but it keeps me employed anyway.
Keeps you employed, keeps your brain operating, right?
Or not.
Or not, or mush. Yeah, mine's a little bit mushy today. Let's dive into some of the happenings at the Utah legislature, namely when it comes to budgets. As we speak today, the House and Senate are passing what we call the base budgets. Those are just, we continue the funding from last year. Nothing changes, except we added $30 million to pay for a settlement with U.S. Magnesium to buy their assets. So that's a little bit of news for you. But when it comes to next year's budget, that's what's being worked on right now. And one of the exercises that leadership has asked all the state agencies to do is cut their budgets by 5%. But now we have House Speaker Mike Schultz, who's come out and said that education will sort of be held harmless in this process of potential cuts. Let's take a listen to what he said.
I just want to be clear, couple things that's caught the headlines that I've seen. Public education is not going to be getting a 5% reduction. In fact, public education will get another increase this year. However, there are programs inside public education that don't make sense.
So, Sarah, let me start with you because you're in public education. He didn't totally elaborate on what those programs are, but he did say he was disappointed that public ed came to the appropriations committee and basically just said, we're going to cut 5% from everything. We're not going to do a detailed cut structure of, pitting one program against each other. What do you make of these possible cuts to education?
Well, it would have been good to know before our 2 5-hour-long board meetings when we had to look at line by line things in our budget and try to decide, do we want to keep all of the arts programs like POPs and the Beverly Taylor Sorensen program, or should we keep money to train teachers, parents, and children about preventing child sex abuse? So it's been really frustrating to do, and it's been a quick turnaround. I work in higher education. Last year, we were asked to cut 10% of our budget. We had time. We were thoughtful. I'm all about looking at where we can make cuts, but this was really quick. And the last thing for me is that it's really frustrating when I see them at the same time they're asking us to cut our budget. They're running pet projects or pet legislation that is for some random, for example, the Catalyst Center that Schultz ran, it's like $130 million. Vouchers cost hundreds of millions of dollars. So we're sitting here at the same time they're asking us to cut the budget. They're running legislation with fiscal notes that will be taken out of our budget.
Adam, do you think Sarah's education folks should have done a more detailed cut, or are her frustrations warranted?
Well, I think everyone's asked to do kind of the same thing. She's right about higher ed. That was a very thoughtful, you have a year to figure this out, actually almost 2 to figure this out. So they had time. They could be thoughtful. Each of the universities could talk to each other, decide which programs didn't work. A lot of well, I shouldn't say bad programs. Programs that were not used were cut. That was a good thing that we saw. The argument that I think Speaker Schultz is using, and he said this to groups when I've seen him speak, he said, look, in my business in 2008, I was a home builder, and we were prepared because we knew what to cut. We knew what we could live without, do without. It was really hard, but it was good for our business to be lean and go through these decisions. So I think we got to be careful about saying everything's going to be cut 5%, because that's not exactly what I'm hearing up at the legislature. What I'm hearing is every division, department, everyone has to propose 5% in cuts. And so what's happening is legislative staff is taking like Health and Human Services or transportation, and they're proposing hundreds of millions of dollars in cuts. Those things that are being proposed are not what is going to be cut. So the committees will actually have to look at these lists, and they'll say, okay, here's things we can live without. We're gonna propose these cuts of 5%. Then those 5% cuts are going to go to the Executive Appropriations Committee, made up of legislative leadership from both houses and both parties, who will then make decisions on what to cut, what will be in the final budget. So even though you're proposing 5% and more, you could only see a 1 to 2% cut in a certain division, but maybe a 6% in somewhere else. And so you're right. I think these it's better when you have more time to look at these. So I think what they're just trying to find out right now is what are some things we can skim off the top right to begin with. And if there are agencies we have to look closer at, we'll do that next year.
Yeah. And to be fair, later on in that conversation, he did sort of say that, where he said not everyone is getting a cut. He hopes they can do some reallocations. And I think, the higher ed cuts were so successful and such a, good product or project, rather, an exercise for higher ed, that they're now applying that to the agencies statewide.
And a big part of that was the thoughtfulness and collaboration with the legislature too. I mean, I would love if the legislature were, more collaborative with some of these agencies, especially education, the one I'm closest to. Talk to us, like, what are you thinking? Can we work through these together? Because we propose our list to public education appropriations, and then they have their own list, and then we're sorting through depending on, if a legislator has a kid in a dual language immersion program, they're not going to want to cut that. But then maybe the state board has the expertise to say, we see that we can make cuts here. So it doesn't feel as thoughtful or as productive as we could be.
Yeah, that's tough. I didn't think through that. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple other education things, education adjacent things. There's a couple of bills being run in different areas to make elections either partisan or nonpartisan. So right now, school board elections, Sarah's elections, are partisan. The state school board elections, thank you, not local ones. And local, like city council races, those are nonpartisan. Those are proposing being flipped, right?
So like the Salt Lake School Board or Granite School Board would be partisan.
Right. And then the state school board, there is a Democrat trying to get those to be nonpartisan. What do you guys make of those proposals? Should we have local elections be partisan? And it's city council, not just school board, right?
I think it's just school board.
Oh, it's just school board? Why did I think it was like municipal elections? No? Did I make that up?
We can fact check it.
Peter, fact check me. Representative Kyle's running the bill. Jason Kyle is running the bill. So double check that for me. But either way, what do you make of the proposed changes?
I mean, for me personally, I think one of the worst things the legislature ever did was make the state school board partisan. It's brought a lot of politics into education. And oftentimes, just because I have a D next to my name, I am immediately looked at as someone evil. Or, a lot of people have said, oh, I thought I had heard all these things about you, but you're really not that bad. You're really collaborative and you work with everyone. I'm like, yeah, just because I have this label Democrat next to my name on a ballot, people assume that, I'm evil in some way. And so there's just been a lot of things and instances where the party politics have mushed into the education world. And I think that it needs to stay out of it. I think local school board races should remain nonpartisan.
Is that fair, Adam?
So look, I'm a Republican. I have been a Republican elected official. And I was on the Utah GOP Executive Committee, SCC, all the acronyms inside the party. And ever since I just, became 18, I was a delegate. So I've always kind of been involved, and I like partisan elections. I like being a part of a party. But I also, the national level is so different now than the local level. Like, we have two very different parties, and you have conservatives and MAGA. And so it's really hard to navigate right now. But what I will say is, one thing I've seen when the individual parties, especially county parties, have made decisions to get involved in local races, I feel like that was a problem. And everyone was trying to bring MAGA into or a democratic philosophy into a city where you're just talking about transportation and road funding, or how do we keep the senior center afloat. It was they were not ideological fights. And I felt like when we were trying to make them partisan on their own, we were bringing that into it. And that was a real problem for me. It just gave me a bit of heartburn. So I would hope that any discussion that's happening up on the Hill is very thoughtful on this subject. And we really think of the repercussions when we start making our children, when we start bringing ideology into our kids' education. I think that
yeah.
So
on either side.
quick interjection here on that fact check we requested. This is the bill I've thrown up in the box here. It specifically is talking about local school board members and office holders. So school boards.
Okay, school boards. Thank you for correcting me. Appreciate it.
The one counter argument I've heard against my argument is that there are some people who have felt like they will have more support because they're associated with the party for their election. So
And
that's
it's
a counter
hard. It's
argument.
hard to get elected too. No one. It costs money to run. If you're in Davis County and you got to cover the whole county, it's expensive. And nobody donates to school board races.
No.
I think the easiest fix too would be, if you care about your kids' education, if you care about these races, find somebody that you like that aligns with you and give them money. Help them. Go knock doors for them. Like, it really is. There is just no money in these races. And look, I ran for Salt Lake County recorder. You think anyone wants to donate to a recorder's race? It's really hard.
Most people don't know we have a county
No,
recorder.
nobody knows
I don't
they
know what you
exist.
do. I don't know what you do.
So my point is, like, you're right. There with party support comes, you think will be like this apparatus that will come with me. But what we've seen is in county council races and county commission races, the parties aren't putting money into these things. They're not. There's no team that comes to help you. You're begging for scraps of something, help anywhere. And so find someone that you like and help them out.
Okay, we'll have to
That's
leave.
my public service.
I love that. I
announcement.
love public service. Let's move to some star power on Utah's Capitol Hill. We had a celebrity on in a committee yesterday. Actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt was there, backing a bill that is aiming to regulate AI companies a little bit, put a kids safety plan in place. We'll talk about the policy in a second, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Doug Fiafia gave a really powerful story. I was in this committee about a young person who ended up taking their life after having a conversation with ChatGPT and a chatbot, and basically got instructions on how to do it. It was pretty heart-wrenching to hear, but here's what Joseph Gordon-Levitt, a little bit of what he had to say.
Whenever there's a tragedy like this, they pay lip service to the families. But I'm sorry, it is clear as day that is spin, it's PR, it's marketing. Because again, these companies are driven by only that one guiding principle: making money. That's it.
So he's pretty
This is
passionate.
why the AI industry needs laws.
Okay, he's pretty passionate. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt him, but pretty passionate about this, advocating for why it needs some regulation. But I guess I just want to ask the broader question, though. What does having a celebrity do for your bill? Guys, does this help get it across the finish line?
Honestly, when Katherine Heigl went up there and Paris Hilton went up there, both of those made those bills get a lot of traction, a lot of attention. It's huge.
It's hard to tell Joseph Gordon-Levitt from 10 Things I Hate About You and
Whatever, she's
Inception
Robin.
with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's hard to say, no, I will not pass your bill, sir.
Yeah. And I agree with him. I think we do need to be ahead of this instead of behind it like we were with all of the other social media channels or platforms. We were behind, and we caused a lot of damage in a lot of kids in their mental health. And so I agree with him.
Yeah, what kind of uphill battle does Utah face with these AI tech companies? Because here we're coming in before the federal government and we're saying, hey, big tech, you've got to put a warning label basically on your product. Do we think they're just going to comply?
Well, I also don't know if you put a warning label on my kid's phone or an app that my 12-year-old or 10-year-old is using, will not do a thing because they will not read it.
And I should be clear, I use that phrase. That's not what it does. But it's sort of like a safety plan, and they have to make that public.
I agree.
You just scroll, acknowledge.
Yeah.
every
I don't.
time.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't want a safety plan. I want you guys to fix it. And I have a hard time believing. I agree with it that it's spin. They're all about profit. All of that is true. I also believe that if you are a platform like ChatGPT or Gemini, you are not wanting your platform to tell a child how to take their own life. That they don't want that. I have not talked to anyone.
I hope no human wants that.
I have not talked to any of these people, but I can guess that would be the case. I think the biggest uphill battle that they face is you have the Trump administration who wants to prevent at all costs states from regulating anything having to do with AI. They tried to do it in the Big Beautiful Bill. Luckily, it was rebuffed. It was taken out of the bill, and states banded together to prevent that. And so now you have states trying to do it again, and you have the President of the United States who does an executive order saying, no, I'm going to take away state power because that's how he operates. That's crap too. Stop. And so we can't fight these companies and fight the administration at the same time. We have to be on the same page as states, and they need to take their power back against the federal government, Republican or Democrat. They're both screwing it up.
Sarah, how do you see it?
I 100% agree with. I am all about federalism. I'm all about states' rights. And there's no way we're going to stop the Trump administration unless we band together. Utah doing it, great. 18 states doing it, even better. So I think there needs to be a unified effort from states on both sides saying, yeah, we're not okay with this. We want to make sure there's regulations in place. We want to make sure we protect our kids. And that weighs a lot more against the administration and these companies.
And so to Sarah's point, let's be first. Let's not wait. Let's be the first one. Let's have other states follow us.
But also, I want to point out she has a D next to her name, but she totally believes in federalism, and
do.
so
Federalism,
I
is
love
founding
states' rights.
principle,
Let's
not
note
an
that you should-
ideological principle.
you should get to know everyone based on their
Yes.
beliefs, not just the letter next
Local
to their
control,
name.
states' rights all the way, baby.
Right. So that's your civics lesson for today. Okay, let's go to a national level or a national issue really fast, and that is the spending bills that are in front of Congress here soon. Democrats are kind of holding out to prevent ICE from being funded in the wake of Minnesota, in the wake of how ICE has handled some of the shootings that have happened, the administration, Department of Homeland Security, and how they've reacted to some of these shootings. Do you guys think this is the right place for Democrats to push on this funding? Is this the right place for them to say, we could potentially shut down the government here, at least partially, and not fund this because we don't think ICE is handling things well?
Well, I think it's important to note that they don't have to shut down the government over one spending bill. We don't pass giant budgets. Sometimes we do, but really we pass multiple appropriations bills. So really you only have to take whatever DHS is in.
Right.
But yes, this is important. I don't agree we should shut down the government over funding issues like this. But what's important is the Congress has no power in this administration.
Zero power.
But what they do have is the power of the purse. And the only way that you can force changes that you want to see, Republican or Democrat, by telling the president what to do. You can't just pay lip service to it. You have to take the money away. Included in the DHS bill, and this has been litigated in committee over and over again, but you have something like enough for $40,000 in bonuses for every single DHS employee. That's crap. You shouldn't have that. Get rid of that. There are ways to make changes. You can't, if you disagree with everyone wearing hoods and going in unmarked vehicles and taking people out of their cars who are just filming you, like if you want that problem solved, you have to do it with money. You have to pull the money away from the agency. And if that's the way you want to change things, then that's the only tool they have in their tool belt.
Well, and I recognize that we have 5, 6 different spending bills, right, at the congressional level. But if you pull DHS's funding, right, then that provision doesn't get funded. So at least in part, there are things that are shut down.
Appropriations subcommittee, everything in that appropriations committee goes with it.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
your border patrol, everything.
So a partial shutdown could be looming if we don't figure this out. Sarah, Senator Mike Lee weighed in calling those who wanted to hold ICE accountable the mob, basically saying we're not going to let a mob here stop us from funding DHS. Do you see it the same way? How likely do you think this is to happen?
I think this is another instance when Mike Lee is not really aligned with the majority of Americans. And I think that a lot of folks are pretty disturbed about what they've been seeing, and reasonably so. And I think that there is a limit for how much we should be investing and putting money into someone or to DHS, who's clearly making a lot of Americans unhappy. And really, it's been unfortunate what we've been seeing. I think it's an opportunity to reel it in. But like just as Adam said, the only way to do that is with money. And I think that they took it too far regardless. But this is also an opportunity where Democrats have a lot of Republicans who are also in favor of this. So it's an opportunity to really actually use the power, the very little power that they now have, and stand up to the president and make some changes there.
Okay, one final issue. We have like 2 minutes left to discuss this very important topic. So I'll bring it up and just, we'll have an incomplete discussion about it, but we'll circle back to it. Don't you worry. At the Utah legislature, there is being proposed a constitutional court, which is basically a trial court where it's a specialty court. So right now we have specialty courts like the Chancellery Court, the Business Court, right, where you send certain cases, and these are expertise judges, right, who weigh in on business cases or mental health cases or drug and recovery cases. We would do this for constitutional challenges. Presumably all of our high-profile cases would go through this court when there are challenges constitutionally. Good idea, bad idea? What do you guys think in 1 minute?
Redundant.
Redundant.
My answer is really short. I think it's just another sign that the legislature is trying to obtain as much power as they can.
They took issue when I brought that up to them. It wasn't the power; it was the fact that this court has statewide jurisdiction. So other judges that are not like Salt Lake centric judges could sit on this court, and they took issue with the fact that I brought up the perception that they could be trying to get a certain outcome here.
I think if we're not already appointing constitutional experts to our to the bench, then we have a problem that's maybe bigger.
Yeah, it is pretty disrespectful for the folks that are sitting there already.
Yeah, most of the judges that I know are awesome, and they handle these types of issues. They're all constitutional issues. They handle the Utah Constitution all day long, and so they're experts in this field. And the longer they're on the bench, the more expertise they have. So I think we could give them more help. We need more judges on the district level. We need more clerks. We need faster case times. That's all important. I don't know how much this helps. Otherwise, now we're going to have water judges, and just every single issue we're going to have to create a new court for. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that precedent, but I have to read more about it.
Women's sports judges.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Well, we already have those. We don't go into that.
Umpires, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
All right, Adam Gardiner, Sarah Reale, thanks for your thoughts today. We
Thank
appreciate it. Always love your opinions here. Producer Peter, appreciate the fact check.
Of course. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you for being with us. And as always, watch Inside Utah Politics this Sunday at 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. on ABC4. Senator Mike McKell will come talk about his big omnibus elections bill and this constitutional court question. And Democrat Andrew Stoddard will come talk about some of those issues as well. So we got a jam-packed show for you. We will see you then. Thanks for watching. See you next time.